Girls, it is our 200th episode of the Everygirl Podcast. That means 200 episodes where we got to learn together, laugh together, cry together, grow together, and at the end of the day, got to go through all the ups and downs of life together, just us girls. It is truly, this is not an exaggeration, the greatest honor of my life to be a part of your week. And I am so incredibly proud of this community that we have built together. I seriously cannot express my gratitude to you enough. Thank you for letting me ride shotgun on your morning commute, your hot girl walks, those nights where you're folding laundry at 11 p.m., wondering if you're the only one still figuring it out. Because, spoiler, you're not. You know, I'm right there with you. When we recorded the first episode and I couldn't figure out how to work the mic and I was so nervous and insecure about myself, I could not have imagined the 199 episodes that would follow and this community that would be the foundation of all of them. Let me tell you my favorite part about this podcast. It is every DM you've sent, every review you've written, every OMG same that you might have whispered while listening. That is what turned this awkward 26-year-old me with a microphone into a show that's really a movement where we all get to bloom together. So, when I was planning our podcast calendar for this month and realized that we were hitting our 200th episode, I was thinking about what we should do to celebrate. And I thought, the only right way to celebrate 200 episodes is to make it about you guys, the Everygirls, who all this is for. I want to know what you want this episode to be about and make it all about you. So I polled you guys on Instagram for questions you had for me that you wanted to dive into deeper on air. I'm going to go through as many questions as I can in the time allocated. So let's get into it. Okay, first question. What do you do to get ready for a vacation? For sure, support my body as much as possible so that I can feel present and clear and as symptom free as I possibly can on vacation. So, what that looks like beforehand is getting a lot of sleep, walking a lot, eating tons of fruits and vegetables. Your inclination before a vacation might be to go super hard at the gym or restrict calories, but actually, your body is about to go through a lot of stress. Like travel in itself is a stressor. If you're going to have more alcohol or sugar than you normally do, that's another stressor. So, this is actually not when I would do intense workouts or intermittent fast. I want to really nourish and support my body with a lot of walking and eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, a lot of nourishment, so that my body feels as good as it possibly can on vacation. Again, the point is not to just look amazing in a swimsuit or whatever. The point is to feel super present and clear, not have symptoms that are distracting you. I will also do my green juice every morning. You know, I've talked about this a lot. If you are new here, the recipe is also on our Instagram at the Everygirl Podcast. I would also do some kefir, however you say it, at night. You can also, if you're sensitive to dairy or don't do dairy, there's a coconut yogurt version of this. I really like the Harmless Harvest one. It's just like a probiotic coconut drink. And I would do this every night before bed because kind of coating your stomach with the probiotics really helps to improve your digestion for the next day and just like set up your digestion for optimal success. So that's important before a vacation. I love to get in an extra little sweat before vacation. Sweating is great for supporting the body's detoxification, which can be helpful before going into a weekend or a week where your body's detoxification system might be doing a little extra work. So I will typically do more hot yoga or hot Pilates before the week leading up to a vacation. And I also do notice a difference when I sweat. Like I feel like it helps me get rid of some very natural, normal water retention. So sweating really helps me to just like feel great also. So either a hot workout class or my sauna blanket, going into an infrared sauna if you have access to one, even just going for a light jog outside. It's hot AF, so you can get a little sweat on just by going outside and moving a little bit. Just trying to sweat every day or as much as possible before vacation can be really helpful to set up your body for optimal success and to make you feel really great. I prep all of my supplements and my wellness go-tos in a cute little pill box. I will arrange my daily morning and nighttime supplements like my probiotics. I usually will take a multivitamin when I'm on vacation just to fill any nutrition gaps. Glutathione. If I'm drinking alcohol, which I will almost always be doing on vacation, I have like a turmeric liver support supplement. So I love to take that in the mornings, whatever supplement that I'm taking for where I'm at in my cycle phase. And then at night, I love to take the sleep supplement from Array. Sometimes I don't sleep well when I'm not in my own bed. So it's helpful to have just that little support. And then I also bring a huge random Ziploc bag. I honestly need to make it more legit. I call it my Lisa Rinna bag of pills. If you're an OG Beverly Hills housewife fan, you get this reference. But I just pack everything I could possibly need because I want to support my body. I want to have every tool in my toolbox possible so that I feel as great as I can on vacation so that I'm not struggling through a headache or cramps or indigestion or whatever it is so that I can fully enjoy the trip. So, in my Lisa Rinna bag of pills, I have electrolyte packets and minerals to add to water every morning. I have magnesium in case I get constipated or get headaches. I have activated charcoal for after drinking alcohol, digestive enzymes for meals. I have a supplement that helps balance blood sugar, which is helpful if I'm eating a very high carbohydrate meal without protein, which sometimes happens a lot actually on vacation. Because as a vegetarian, there isn't always like a protein options available all the time. So a lot of times it is having like a pasta or something. What else? If you get acid reflux, Array has an amazing supplement for that. If I'm going to be on my period, in addition to my usual supplements for cramps, I like the one from Love Wellness and also Wish Garden Herbs cramp tincture. I will also bring caffeine-free complete Midol. I usually don't take pain reliever for my period because cramps are my body's way of communicating with me. Okay, so I'd like to listen. But if I'm on vacation, I just want to be symptom free. So, this Midol specifically, I like that it's caffeine free. Since it's a pain reliever, it's going to help with cramps and headaches, but it's also an antihistamine and diuretic. So, it really helps relieve the water retention and bloating that comes with your period, too. So, it's kind of like a good one stop shop if you're getting your period on vacation and you just need something that's going to ease all the symptoms. And then what's the last thing I travel with? There's one more. Oh, it's called Bonine Non-Drowsy Motion Sickness Tablets. I don't get motion sickness, but I like having something in case I get nauseous. I have such a sensitive stomach to alcohol. Like my hangovers are never headaches. They're always just nausea. So these tablets help if I need it. I like to be prepared. And then what else before going on a vacation? The day before, I will do a full everything shower. I will do a hair and scalp mask before getting in the shower. I like any of the Act and Acre scalp detox or exfoliator treatments. And then I will do a really thick mask on wet hair for a couple hours and then shower it out. I will shave myself head to toe, like literally including my face with these cute little facial razors that are really good for exfoliation and getting rid of peach fuzz. And honestly, I'm Italian, so we gotta get rid of the mustache. I love a shave oil rather than a shave lotion or cream. I like a brand called Olio e Osso's shave oil. I know that kind of sounds like a pasta dish, which makes me like it even more. Or I also love Flamingo's shave oil. And oil just nourishes the skin so much better than shaving cream for a deeper shave and more hydrated, nourished skin. Also, a tip because my skin would get super irritated whenever I shaved, especially my legs, weirdly. And I tried everything, all different types of oils and things like that. It would always just get irritated after shaving. So I use a non-toxic version of cortisone cream. It's called Pro Cure Hydrocortisone Cream, and I just slather it on my legs after shaving. This was actually a tip from my dermatologist. I always self-tan because God bless my poor, sad, pale skin. I just do not tan naturally. God forbid, a girl just wants a little glow in the summer. So for fake tan, I love the brand Luxe Unfiltered. I use their mousse for an immediate deeper color and then their gradual self-tanner lotion during the vacation to maintain the color. Also, their drops for the face is really great. It's a non-toxic brand and it doesn't smell. Their color looks really natural. It's not streaky, so they've become my favorite. Okay, next question. Help with being so focused on self-improvement and limits you in other ways, like in your relationships. I love this question. I'm so glad you asked. This is actually the biggest mistake that I've seen people making with their wellness, and societally, mainstream wellness culture 100% promotes this. I mean, boundaries were the number one therapy speak of the past 5 years. And when we think about wellness routines, it's not only individualized, but it directly cuts us off from other people. We can't have dinner with our friends if we're on that diet, or we can't go out at night if we have to do a 10-step nighttime routine or wake up at 5 a.m. for the gym. Mainstream wellness culture is isolating, period. And that is one of the biggest things that I am trying to change about our perception of wellness. The healthiest people in the world are not saying no to dinner with friends so they can wake up for an early morning workout. They're not sacrificing time with people they love for a biohacked nighttime routine. Community and relationships are an essential daily and constant theme for the healthiest people in the world. Study after study proves that relationships are the most important factor of well being, both for career success and physical health, by the way. The Harvard Grant study found that close relationships were the strongest predictor of successful living, even more than career achievements or wealth. There's also the example of the Rosetta effect, which some of you ride or dies probably have heard me talk about this because it's my favorite study. But the Rosetta effect is basically there was a small community in Pennsylvania called Rosetto that had much lower rates of disease and obesity, but the community ate the average American diet and they lived a very sedentary lifestyle, very on par with all the other similar towns and communities. And researchers found that the determining factor was a close knit community. In general, always remember that if it sacrifices your joy, it is no longer wellness. This is really important for me to stress for you guys because I think that a lot of what we think of as self improvement actually makes our lives worse, not better, because it isolates us from the people we love. It demonizes pleasure. It makes us distrust our bodies and our intuition. So I think it's helpful to ask yourself, self improvement for what? What's the end goal? Are you reading that book or meditating or setting boundaries because it really is aligned and adds so much to your joy and your meaning of life? Or because you're trying to be the best version of yourself to stay lovable or in control? The purpose of self improvement, what that actually means, the purpose of becoming your best self is to experience as much joy as possible. If you remember that and know that joy is your success measurement, then you know what's actual self improvement, not this bullshit that the world has tried to sell you that is hindering us from actually being our best selves. How to romanticize cooking and enjoying the process more. Clumsy ADHD girl over here, I get overwhelmed. Okay, pick a vibe, first of all. French girl with red wine, coastal Italian summer, cozy cottagecore, main character of a rom com. Setting a vibe gives your brain a fun lens to focus through. It becomes an emotion instead of just making dinner. Turn on a playlist that reflects that vibe to set the mood immediately. Music is the main thing for me that turns cooking from a chore or a thing that I have to do into a very romanticized part of my day. I love a French playlist. I immediately feel like I am Meryl Streep and it's complicated making a croque madame, even if I'm just making a girl dinner or an Italian playlist. I feel like I really get into making my pasta. It just sets the tone and changes the vibe immediately. I also love to put on a playlist of songs that make me want to dance and sing and will just dance around my kitchen while I'm cooking, and it makes it so much more fun. Use your pretty dishes, even if it's a random Tuesday night and you're eating alone. Get out your anthropology plates instead of the plastic ones. Use the gold silverware. Drink your mocktail or sparkling water out of a wine glass. Use your nice stuff. Rethink what you deserve. redefine what special occasion has to mean. If you want to make cooking a little bit easier, prep ahead of time. Like I sometimes, if I have energy and I need a work break around 2 p.m., I will chop and prep my veggies and do as much prep work as I can then for dinner later. Or you can chop and make your grains or your proteins on Sunday to make the rest of your meals all week so much easier. For some people, it's also really helpful to set a timer for each task. I know, especially an ADHD brain typically loves a kind of beat the clock moment. Like, okay, you have 2 minutes to clean the counter before the pasta boils. Like that kind of thing. It becomes a game then, and it makes cooking a lot more fun and easy. Just remember that romanticization isn't about making it look super Instagram worthy and beautiful. It's learning to enjoy the moments your brain usually wants to skip. I love when you deep dive on finding balance and being a corporate girly without burnout. One of my favorite topics. People often think that you have to work really hard for success and then you have to rest to avoid burnout. And it's kind of like this constant balance of trying to figure out whether to take care of your well being or your success. And I actually disagree. Restoring your energy and prioritizing your well being is quite literally the best investment in your career that you can make. When you manage your energy, you accomplish so much more in less time. You can be so much better at your job and get more done during one workday. You can finish your schoolwork faster and better. Like, think about it. When you have energy and vivaciousness and vitality, you can get the same outcome of a brainstorm in 15 minutes than you would get from a 60-minute brainstorm when you're feeling sluggish and drained or uninspired. If you don't believe me, I compare this to writer's block. You know, the times when you had to write an essay for school or even just like an email at work and you're dealing with writer's block, right? You're sitting there trying to formulate words, nothing's really coming together well. You type out a sentence and then delete it. It takes you 20 minutes to write one email or 5 hours to write this paper. It takes you so much time, and the finished product is like subpar. Now think of the times when you're writing something and you're just in the flow state. Like words are pouring out of you. Maybe you wrote the most communicative, clear, effective email of your life in under 1 minute, or you wrote a paper worthy of an A plus in under an hour. Like we all have had this experience of writer's block and being in the flow state. All of us, no matter what we do for work, are either existing in something comparable to a writer's block or a flow state every day. The way you avoid this block is to change your energy so you can constantly exist in a flow state so that you do better work in less time, so that you can show up better to meetings, so that you can have better ideas and be better at problem solving. So, truly, it's not just like I'm a badass corporate girly, but I have to invest time outside of work for my well being because that's what I'm supposed to do. It's in order to be the most badass corporate girly I can possibly be, I need to invest time outside of work. They are one and the same instead of this balance, if that makes sense. Okay. How did you become a podcast host? And I also got this question. Hi, Josie. I'm curious to know how you managed to take on being a podcast host already being a senior editor. This is like my love story with the podcast. This is like when I was sharing my how I met Joey story, only better. Am I right? So I have had 10 different lives at the Everygirl Media Group. Okay. I started as an editorial intern back in 2017. I came on as editorial assistant. Again, 10 lives. I was the fashion features manager, later became the wellness editor of the Everygirl. Okay. And I loved being in wellness. I loved really redefining wellness. Actually, like a lot of what I talk about today was really my vision at the time of like, I know what the wellness industry gets wrong. I think the industry is putting so much pressure on women, and I want to free women. And so much of what you hear me talk about in the podcast is a lot of what I was really specific on wellness content on the site to be representative of. So I was working as a wellness editor and loved the work that I was doing, but I was like, something is missing. I've always loved writing, but I wasn't feeling super fulfilled in this role that felt very behind the screen. And at the same time, the Everygirl media group was talking about starting a podcast. And so I went to my boss, Allison, our editor in chief, who is like she's like my work mom. Some people have their work wives. I have a work mom. And I was like, I am honestly feeling a little bit unfulfilled. I really can't pinpoint what it is because I love what I'm doing, but something's like missing for me. I think I would love to be involved in the podcast. Like, I think that sounds really great to get to have conversations with other amazing women live and to get to kind of communicate more directly with her audience. Because at the time, I would love hearing from women who loved an article, but I was like, I don't really get that connection to them often. So I told her I wanted to be involved, and she was like, great, that sounds awesome. I'll share that with our CEO who was planning the podcast at the time. And long story short, it was like, great, come along, join the podcast. It'll be so fun. And I was so excited. And then it kind of just eventually spiraled into like, this is my podcast. There was something like instantly the first interviews with guests that I had, the first conversations I would have for the podcast. I just remember being like, this is it. Fuck yeah, this is it. So I think it was very obvious to me, at least, that this was like my calling, what I wanted to do. So I was really lucky that I had like a media group that really supported me and believed in me and gave me this platform. So I was really really lucky in that way, but that was my journey. And then obviously have taken this podcast in 1,000 different not directions, it's always really been the same direction, but it's skyrocketed from what I ever could have pictured 3 years ago when we launched. It's actually so funny looking back at the first episodes. Elena, our CEO, was on a few of those episodes, and it's, like, so awesome to see how far we've come, how much the podcast has grown, and it's all thanks to you guys, but that's my love story with the Everygirl podcast. And how I managed both jobs, I mean, I still am also the senior wellness editor. Actually, on Thursday, I have an episode for you that will give a lot more insight into what that looks like and how I balance both of these roles that require a lot from me. So stay tuned for Thursday. Next question. I feel like my best friend since 8th grade is kind of slipping away and is not the same. Help. I am so sorry. Okay, hot take, but friendship breakups hurt more than romantic breakups, especially when it's the friend that you've had forever, that you've seen each other through so many different things and like you really thought they'd be there to the end for you. I swear there's something about friendship breakups that just hurt the most because you think these are the people that are supposed to be with you. Like there's no reason for it not to continue. So I understand the hurt and like I feel for you. I'm sending you love, especially when someone's been a fixture in your life since middle school. It's like disorienting when the connection starts to feel off. So don't gaslight yourself. Your intuition is valid and it's okay to feel all the feelings about this. This is grief. You are losing someone that you loved. It is grief. What I always say is that relationships, including friendships, are like a pair of jeans. You might have some jeans that are like the coolest, trendiest jeans. And every time you wear them, you're like, oh my God, these make me look so freaking cool. I love these jeans. And then in a year or 2 years, you're kind of over that style. It goes out of style. And then you might have the jeans in your closet that are like your go tos, your classic Levi's that always look good. They always feel good. You've had them for years. But here's the thing, sometimes with jeans, we outgrow them or they get too many holes in them that we can't repair, or they're no longer in style, or maybe we just find jeans that we like better. It doesn't mean that those jeans were not our favorite pair for the time that we had them, or that they weren't worth buying and wearing all the time, or that we're going to look back at pictures. Well, actually, I look back at pictures and regret wearing jeans for sure. And, you could also look back at some friendships and regret those. But my point is that just because you have outgrown the jeans, it does not mean that the jeans were bad or the jeans were a failure or you shouldn't have worn those jeans for the time that you did. Those jeans serve their purpose for the season, the year, the time of life that you needed them, and you have outgrown them. That's okay. And I think when we look at the end of any kind of relationship, it's so easy to feel like it's a failure instead of looking at it like it was such a success for the time that we had it. And we were so lucky to have this pair of jeans that we love so much and made us feel so good. And it's okay that we've grown out of these jeans because we can find a pair that makes us feel even better. Now that I'm the ripe old age of 29, I feel like the hardest part of growing up and getting older is realizing that you're growing in separate directions from people who meant a lot to you. So, a couple pieces of advice I would say. I would check in with your expectations first. When you say she's not the same or she's changing, can you love her in this new form and have a friendship with who she is now? Or would the friendship no longer be serving you? Like, if you met her today, would you or would you not be friends? It's also healthy to just communicate instead of assuming in almost every single situation. Like, I would probably have a conversation with her, especially if she was like your best friend, and just naming, I miss how close we used to be, and see how she responds. No blame to her, no like, you've changed or anything that would make her defensive quite yet, but just like, I miss our closeness. Do you notice that things are a little different between us? How do you feel? Getting clarity from her either way at least helps you know whether to grieve the relationship or change the way that you're viewing it. And then build a new support system or fill whatever it is that you are no longer getting from this friendship through other people. Especially a lot of times we still can have a great friendship intact, but we're in very different life phases. Maybe a friend just had a baby and you're wanting to go out and meet new people on the weekends. That's okay because you can find a new support system of friends that will want to go out with you on a Friday or Saturday night. And then you can make time for her, and maybe once a month or once every couple weeks, going and saying how she and her baby are doing. Like you can change your friendship as your friends change. You just have to fill in the support system for you to fill what you need. I also would just throw out there that, like, I wouldn't always equate distance with failure or with the ending of a relationship. Some friendships circle back and reconnect. Or again, like a pair of jeans, some friendships were a really meaningful part of your life, even if they were not meant to be part of your future. But I feel for you. That's my heart goes out to you. That's a brutal one. Tips for getting off birth control. Great question. It is hard to find the right resources out there to help support your body through this. I got off a birth control pill 5 years ago, and I was so scared to go off because I had been on birth control at that point for 10 years. And I initially went on because I had such severe cramps. My periods were absolute hell when I was 14 years old. Like, I would literally be throwing up from the pain. I eventually got prescription painkillers. Even that did not help. So, my gynecologist, when I was 15 years old, put me on birth control pill. And I still continue to have issues even with my birth control pill around my period, but at least I didn't have like the most like debilitating cramps ever. So when I was going off, I was fully prepared for my body to go back to where I was when I was 14 years old. And I was so prepared to have the worst cramps. I also was scared for my skin to break out because my skin was pretty fine. Like, I would get a breakout every couple weeks or so. And so I was like, I feel like my skin would be so much worse if I wasn't on birth control. So I was like fully expecting shit to hit the fan. But the reason why I was going off, because I had had these really bad hormonal issues a few years prior to when I eventually went off, I started really studying hormonal health and why the body has period symptoms, like hormonal health now. Luckily, we talk about it so much more. It's become a lot more mainstream with cycle syncing and things like that. But when I started researching and learning about it, there was no information out there. It was mind blowing to me that your hormones are doing different things at different phases of your cycle instead of it just being like, oh, your hormones are different during your period. It blew my mind. So I learned so much about hormones and about the reproductive cycle, and really spent years educating myself on the topic, and then eventually felt like I want to come off for my body, because knowing that symptoms of your period are the way that your body communicates with you something's wrong, I was like, I am silencing a very important communication tool. So, starting 3 months prior to when I went off, I wanted to give my body as much nourishment as possible to make that transition easier. So, I started cycle syncing just around like the placebo pills as my period and kind of using it like that. Again, braced myself for impact, was so fucking terrified. Craziest thing, the day I stopped taking oral birth control for the first time in 10 years, 28 days later, I had a perfect, pain-free 3-day long period that was lighter than any of the placebo week periods I'd had on birth control ever. My skin never had a breakout again. I mean, I don't wanna say that. I've had, like, a couple breakouts here and there, so much less frequently than when I was on birth control, and I had literally, I swear to God, less cramps and less heavy periods than I had as the placebo on birth control. That's not to say everybody get off birth control. This will be the experience that everybody has. Obviously, every body is so different. I think that I was really comparing my body as a 25-year-old to the body that I had when I was 14, and your body changes so much. So I think it's normal for my body to have different symptoms than it did when I was younger. And that I think was really helpful to get to know, like, who is my body now? What is my reproductive cycle now at this age that's different when I was literally barely pubescent? So that could have been a factor. I think supporting my body, like, I really do think the cycle syncing and reducing inflammation and all the work I had done on my health really did make such a difference to support my body. But again, everybody is different. The post birth control syndrome is a very real thing for a lot of people. Birth control sometimes masks other issues like whether it's IBS or PCOS. So when you come off, it rips the Band-Aid off. So you see more of what's going on there. So you might have worse symptoms. So I'm not saying at all that this is everybody's experience or like that everyone should be off birth control. Birth control pill is super necessary for actual birth control, for preventing pregnancy. So just want to say funding is crucial. Thank you, Planned Parenthood. Advice for you, I would say, first of all, work with your doctor, especially if you went on birth control for hormonal issues like acne or irregular periods or cramps. Those might come back without support. So definitely work with your doctor on getting off birth control. Don't just like quit on your own and hope for the best. Cycle tracking is going to be your new BFF. I love the app MyFlow, and I also use Natural Cycles and I track it with my Oura Ring, or you can just use a thermometer. I would start that even before getting off the pill so that you can just begin to learn your patterns, get in the habit. It's like learning a new language that your body's been speaking to you that you haven't had access to since you've been on the pill. So I would just start tracking. I would also cycle sync before you get off birth control. It doesn't have to be like 3 months like me, but even just like 1 month of living cyclically, getting in all the nutrients your hormones need can help start supporting your body. Be really intentional about the food that you eat to make sure that your diet is helping to lower inflammation and stabilize blood sugar so that your hormones are in a really good place and you've lowered as much inflammation as you can before going off the pill. So that means like focusing on healthy fats, a lot of omega 3s that are going to help with inflammation. So getting in your salmon, walnuts, chia seeds, flax seeds, high quality protein to stabilize your blood sugar. It really is like the focus of your diet is like blood sugar balance, liver support, and gut health. And that will be key for your hormones. I would also recommend taking the supplement DIM, when you're coming off birth control just for like a month or two to help detox excess hormones. And then also, many women are depleted in key nutrients like magnesium, zinc, B vitamins, and vitamin D after hormonal birth control. And it's interesting because I've seen this a lot. Like, there's something about oral birth control, it almost kind of like reduces the effects of these vitamin deficiencies. So it might not have shown up for you as much earlier while you're on the pill, but it does deplete certain vitamins. So then when you come off, I've seen this with a lot of people, they think that they have post birth control syndrome or that they have just really bad periods. And it actually is just a byproduct of their super low vitamin D levels or low magnesium, low B vitamins. So I would do a blood panel, get your vitamin levels checked, and then supplement as necessary based on what your doctor recommends. Wedding updates. Okay. I actually just this morning we had a meeting with a potential photographer. I am being so difficult. I am a nightmare bride already because I have such a specific vision and I want everything to be so different. So like even just like the photography, I just want everything to be so creative and really different. I have just such a specific vision. So it's been really, really fun though so far. We're just kind of in the beginning stages. We have locked down our venue. Our wedding is going to be the beginning of August of 2026. It'll be in Chicago. We are still waiting on I have a very specific vision for our ceremony. We have our cocktail hour and our reception venue locked down, but our ceremony venue is taking longer to secure because where I want it to be is getting like the owners changing. So we have to wait for all the stuff to see if they'll let us rent it out and all these things. So it's a little stressful because I'm like, we have to make sure it goes through. But our wedding planners literally couldn't be more amazing. Joey and I have been having like so much fun in the process so far. And I honestly love having a long engagement. We got engaged last December. I think just in May, we went to Chicago and looked at wedding venues. So I kind of really like taking our time. And so it doesn't feel stressful. We can really enjoy every phase. I initially had wanted to aim for June 2026. And when we were looking at venues in May, I was like, 1 year from now seems like way too soon. I know that this is so different than what most brides feel. Like, there are so many people I know that got engaged after me that already have all of their save the dates, the wedding's already planned, they have their dress. Like, I'm not gonna be that way. I am taking my sweet time, and I don't know, just for me, it feels like I want to really enjoy every single small stage. Like, we still feel like we're just in the engagement, just celebrating the engagement. We're just starting to plan the wedding and lock the big things down. So I feel like I can really enjoy every part of the wedding planning process, which will be hopefully very fun. So not too many updates yet, but I'll keep you posted if you're curious, if you wanna know more. I kinda feel like I need to become, like, a bridal TikToker or something, like, maybe I should share some updates on TikTok. I don't wanna bombard you guys on the podcast with wedding updates, so maybe I'll, like, do it on TikTok or something. I don't know, we'll see. What advice do you have for moving in with a partner for the first time? Oh, you are entering a really fun time where you will get to grow so much together and learn so much about each other and have so much fun. Like, it really is the cliche of you feel like you get to have a sleepover with your best friend every day. It's so special to build this home together and have this life where it feels like you are taking ownership and responsibility for your life together equally. Like, it really is such a special, cool time. So, congratulations. If I could advise myself at the beginning of moving in with Joey, I would say to let shit go. I, you know, if you're learning, I'm not like the most easiest person in the world to live with. I like things a certain way. It's not like I'm even like a neat freak. There's just something about like having my space makes me feel so protective of it. Like, when I first got my own apartment and I had no roommates, I had just left from living at home with my parents. So I felt this sense of like, this is my space. So everything would be cleaned meticulously. I would not want to leave any dishes in the sink. I would clean the dishes immediately. So that's kind of like where I was coming from. And Joey, on the other hand, his style is like, we will put the dishes in the sink and rinse them. And then at the end of the day is when we will clean everything. That didn't go so hot for me. Okay. I would get really mad. And now looking back, I'm like, that feels like something that like doesn't like you can let that go. Like, it's okay if he doesn't want to clean his dishes before he even eats his lunch. Like, it's fine. So I would probably say in moving in with someone, you are getting so much joy and partnership and fun and love. Like, it is just not worth sweating the small stuff. You might have heard me mention how he'll leave his socks on the floor and it pisses me off. That's something like I had to really let go of. And I think what helped me let go of it is because I do awful shit too. Like, I am not an easy person to live with. Sometimes I go days without showering. There's disgusting hair in our sink. I have shit all over the place. Like, I'm not an easy person to live with. And he never once has said anything about all the things about me that make me difficult to live with. So it's not perfect. It sometimes comes out every so often when I've had a bad day, but it really helped me realize, okay, I don't want to be in a relationship where we are nitpicking about the other person's imperfections when it comes to living together. Yes, there are certain things like, just so you know, I like to go to bed at this time. I'd want to go to bed with you. Let's shift our lifestyle together. Like, you both will have to make certain shifts in order to live together. So I'm not saying like don't change anything, but just when it comes to small things that feel like that's not something that they maybe can change, or maybe they are things you can overlook, I would just enter into this phase in a relationship that feels like we are here to love and support each other and make each other's lives happier and better. I would also say talk logistics before you sign the lease. Like, who pays what? What's the plan for groceries, for chores? When we first moved in together, we set it up like we were splitting the rent 50-50, and then I paid the internet because I already had internet for my place, and then he paid utilities. And that's just kind of what we kept out of habit, but we really stopped when we moved in together. We didn't track anything, or we didn't split dinners or our dog's food or groceries when it comes to both money and energy, even same with chores or for our dog. Like, it feels like it's all coming from the same place, if that makes sense. Like, we really don't keep track of who pays for what, or who does the dishes, or who takes Louie out. I know financially or energetically, he'll pick up the slack for me when I need him to, and I'll do the same for him. So I'm saying this kind of like, I guess, hypocritically, but I think it's helpful at the beginning to have an understanding of what each of you expect. So neither of you feel like you're spending more, whether it's taking care of the household, whether it's financially. Like, you don't want to feel like the other expects more, or that you're not meeting expectations, they're not meeting expectations, and that you are going into this life together on the same page. So just covering all the basics of like what those expectations look like. And then I also say with that, protect the relationship from the logistics. Make sure that you keep your date nights, no matter how much time you're spending together, how much of a sure thing they are. Don't stop caring how their day was. Don't stop connecting regularly over things that have nothing to do with the logistics of your home and the chores and the rent payment and all that. Like, sustain the current relationship you have now, but just add on the home element, if that makes sense. Also, another thing that I feel like I can say unjudgmentally, as someone who has lived with their partner for 4 years before we got engaged, beware of the cohabitation effect. I read about this in the book, The Defining Decade, and it really stayed with me. So, the cohabitation effect is basically that couples who move in before formal commitment, like engagement, are statistically more likely to be less satisfied and end up divorcing. This is because couples can kind of drift into living together out of convenience, especially in this economy when having one rent instead of two is obviously quite alluring. But that makes it easy to get locked in without having a clear future plan or really wanting that long term future. Signing a lease, buying furniture, sharing pets can make it really tough to walk away if you otherwise may want to. So, the author of The Defining Decade, who I think is her name is Meg J, she argued that a lot of people get engaged and married because of the sunk cost fallacy. They already invested so much into the relationship. It kind of just more felt like it was time to take the next step, not actually because they were like, I am ready and dying to and excited to commit to you forever. So when I was younger, like in the beginning of our relationship, I never wanted to move in together before getting engaged. It was actually kind of a thing for us a little bit because Joey wanted to move in together and I never did. But at a certain point, out of nowhere, it was just this feeling of, I don't want to come home and him not be there. And that's when I knew I wanted to live with him. My home was with him, whether he was in it or not. And I wanted my home to be with him. So I'm not trying to say don't move in together. I'm actually, really feel the opposite because I'm so happy we moved in together when we did, because we got to build this incredible life and home together and have this completely different relationship. And getting engaged, it actually was great that we lived together. I really don't feel, I know a lot of people feel like, oh, I want to kind of like test it out, see how we are together, do a test before we get engaged. I didn't feel that way. Like, there was nothing I could have found out about how he does his laundry or does the dishes, or whether or not he leaves the toothpaste cap on, that would have swayed me from wanting to spend my life with him. So I don't really agree or feel that way about wanting to test things out ahead of time. But what I did like about it is that it actually made me feel like, okay, we're getting engaged because we really want to. Like, really the opposite of the, defining decade talked about. Because I know a lot of couples who don't live together beforehand, maybe it's like against their religion, their parents aren't okay with it, they didn't want to do it, whatever. So they get married quicker because their lease is up or because they want to pay one rent instead of two. So they are getting married out of more of the convenience. I kind of love that when we got engaged, getting married, it has nothing to do with convenience or the logistics of moving in together or not moving in together. And I think the difference that I would advise to you is just we were really intentional about it. So, all of that is just to say, have a conversation about what this next phase of your relationship means to both of you. Ask them, what does living together mean for us? Are we on the same page? Let your moving in together be a purposeful next chapter, not something that you accidentally fell into. And then also just look out for those lock in moments that the defining decades would have advised you, when convenience rather than love becomes the glue, and you'll be good to go. But I'm so excited for you. Honestly, it's so much fun and it's a really special time to build a home together with this person you love and start your lives together. So I'm so happy for you. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I have so many more questions I can't get to. Someone asked, besides recording, what else do you have to do for your job that we don't see? I love that you're intrigued. Again, Thursday's episode is going to dive into all of that. I am a gabber. You know that about me. So I'm sorry if we didn't get to your question. But if you guys like this format, if you like this kind of like off the cuff, I'm just like going through questions and answering instead of our typical Ask the Every Girl where we cover one topic and one question, let me know. I'm more than happy to keep doing these. I had fun. I hope you did. I have one request for you. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, hit that 5-star review. And if you're listening on Spotify or you're watching on YouTube, leave me a comment to tell me one tiny way the podcast has sparked something for you, whether it's big or small. Maybe it gave you some insight to negotiate that raise. Maybe it helped you end a situationship. Maybe it's leveled up your wellness. Maybe it just gave you some like inspiration or entertainment during a bad day for you. Whatever it is, I really want to hear it because I want that to guide the next 200 episodes. Because at the end of the day, this is not my show, it's ours. And if you keep pressing play, I promise to keep making it better and better. From the bottom of my ever grateful soul, thank you so much for listening, whether you've been here since the first episode or the 200th. I'll see you in the comments. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I know I sure did. Please do not forget to rate, review, and subscribe. It really makes a huge difference for our show so we can keep growing and bringing the content that you love. If you want more info, you can find us at the Everygirl Podcast on Instagram or theeverygirlpodcast.com. Talk to you next week.